Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. We're the house of David, reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about Russia and how they're escalating the situation in the Middle East. But let's read this first. This is Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nations shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So I came across a post which led me to this Greek website, which I translated using Google Translate, and it basically talks about how Russia, it says here, it says simulation of a Russian attack on Greece. Tu-22M3 aircrafts with Kh-22 on a mission to bomb NATO bases in the Mediterranean and three U.S. warships. Right. So basically, Russia ran a simulation with its planes and basically did a test run of bombing all the NATO bases in the Mediterranean, right? And also U.S. warships. Now, in the Bible, NATO is the beast which the whore is America, rides upon, okay? In the book of Revelations. So Russia is prophesied to be the one of the nations that will come out against Babylon the Great and ultimately destroy it, right? Russia being listed here in Ezekiel 38:2. Let's go and actually read this real quick, just so you can see how Russia, Turkey, and Iran, and all the allies of Russia, are prophesied to come up against NATO and the American forces. Right? This is Ezekiel 38:2. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesies against him, and say, Thus saith Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya, with them, all of them with shields and helmets. Right? So this right here is talking about the great war of Armageddon that we are fast approaching, right? Which here in the secular world is referred to as World War III. You see, the Middle East right now, right? The area of the Levant, right? The biblical stage over there is basically a tinderbox, man. And it could basically go off any moment. And World War III could erupt at any second, people. Right? This is how close we are to the end of the world, okay? Where you have Russia out there sending its nuclear bombers to its allies, right? The people who America sees as enemies, right? And flying test runs to destroy American and its allies, bases. Right? But let's go and read the article so you could hear what happened. It says, for the first time, Russian Tu-22M3 strategic aircraft took off from Syria and carried out a virtual bombardment of all NATO bases in the Mediterranean, including Ceuta. They also targeted 3 American warships, right? And this right here is because a few days ago, America, on the 25th, about 3 days ago, America, or the Associated Press reported, it says Russia deploys nuclear-capable bombers to Syria for training, right? And this is the training that they did, man. This is the planes that they deployed out there, right? And you know, Russia isn't messing around, people. It says the Russians emphasize that Russian forces are strengthening in the southeast wing of NATO. At the moment, it is collapsing due to Turkey. It says Russia media reports that the Russian strategic bombers were equipped with Kh-22 surface-to-air cruise missiles. These missiles are anti-ship and are the heavy weapon of the Russian against American aircraft carriers. They have a range of 600 kilometers and can hit the target at a speed of 4.6 Mach. Russian sources say there has been a major offense against NATO bases across the Mediterranean, targets in North Africa, and targets in the Middle East. It says NATO targets Mediterranean bases and 3 warships. So I think it's jacked up here because of how it's translation, but it's basically Russia targets NATO Mediterranean bases and 3 warships. It says 3 warships and all NATO bases in the Eastern Mediterranean, including Ceuta, have been targeted by Russian Tu-22M3 strategic aircraft. In particular, 3 American warships with 2,500 Marines were targeted by a Russian Tu-22M3 strategic aircraft, which carried out a virtual attack on them. Right, so you see that. So these planes literally were targeting actual places, actual bases in the Mediterranean, including 3 actual U.S. military ships, right, that have actual soldiers on it, man. See, so these Russians, man, like I said, man, they're not playing. They're actually practicing for the coming war. Right? Continuing. Tu-22M3 strategic aircraft flew over Mediterranean. During the flight, strikes were carried out against NATO, all NATO naval bases and naval formations in the Mediterranean. It's like repeated shit again, man. What the fuck? Russia has sent a message of readiness and control of the region. In addition, another Russian Tu-22M3 flew off the coast of Israel after a flight in a southwesterly direction. The Russian aircraft turned west and headed to the major NATO naval base in the Mediterranean. He then carried out a simulation of the destruction of NATO bases. He then completed a march along the entire central Mediterranean, demonstrating his readiness to attack and destroy large enemy naval formations in just a few minutes. A similar flight is scheduled for next week. All 3 Russian Tu-22M3 strategic bombers will take part in the exercise. You see, so they're going to run this training exercise again. And again, this training is just, one is to try to scare off America, but second, is so that way they could be ready, and that way they could succeed in the inevitable attack that they're going to play out on NATO and the American forces. It says NATO fighters tried to intercept the Tu-22M3 over the Mediterranean, but were confronted by Russian Su-35 fighters, along with the Tu-22M3 and the Su-35. The Russian AWAC and A-50 was also flying. So you see, here's the just to let you know, because these NATO these Russian bombers are right now stored at Syria, right? Russia, which is over here, right? This is Russia up here. They flew their bombers and they parked them basically in Syria, right? Just like it tells you in the Bible that the Lord would gather all the nations in the world in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is basically down here. But you know, so this just shows you, man, that the armies are coming down into this area, right? Well, now this is the range that those bombers have, 3,000 miles, right? So you see right here is the Levant, man. This is going to be the stage of the Armageddon of the World War III, and the events which are going to lead up to the end of the Edomite Empire world, which we currently are in, right? And this yellow path here shows the path that third bomber took, right, to destroy these ships, right? Here's the ships that that were being targeted, right underneath the boot of Italy, right where Greece is at. And here's those other two bombers leaving from Syria down off the coast of Israel, right? And here's that last third ship that went and ended up going west. And here's the bombers being filmed when they actually came into Syria, right? When they were being landed. Because again, you got to understand that Russia, you know, they're making a strong stance and show of power against the American and NATO forces, man, right? Because they're basically sticking up for Turkey and Syria, right? And just like the Bible says, man, they are being a guard to these people, man, right? Just recently, Russia, there was a Belarus, which is a country right next to Russia. It recently downed a plane to apprehend a journalist that was on its way to I believe he was on his way to France or somewhere. But what Europe did, and Europe and NATO did, they basically banned all European airplanes to fly into Belarus. Well, to show the power, Russia, what they decided to do is ban all flights or all planes that purposely avoided Belarus could no longer come into Russia, right? So this shows you that there is even there's growing dissent and separation between the Allied and the Axis powers out there. Okay, the Lord is setting it up, man, where these devils are basically they're about to go to war, man. Right? They're no longer, peace talks aren't going to work out. That isn't going to happen, right? You're only going to continue to see escalations, continue to grow and escalate until it's too late, right? And we're going to fall into that World War III, and then we're going to see the end of the world. Is Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire, right? So this vision that Isaiah had of Armageddon, of World War III, was a different type of war than what he was used to, right? Instead of hearing all the warriors battling, cleaning, metal banging against each other and all this type of stuff, just garments bloodied by cuts and slashes, he basically seen that there was burning and fuel of fire. Basically, what he had seen is the nuclear explosions that would basically dominate World War III, right? Because you see, World War III, the war between the two major powers, is not going to be like the wars which us, people here in Babylon the Great, America, have witnessed in the past, man, where America goes and beats up all these third world countries, and the war is over in about a week, right? Where basically all you see is Marines and Army soldiers basically shooting the shit out of like civilians. That ain't gonna happen, man. What's gonna happen is you're gonna have the big dogs go at it, man. And how do they go at it? Well, they're gonna use their heavy artillery. They're gonna use their massive cache of weaponry, man. In a high-tech weaponry at that. And it's ultimately going to culminate at the use of nuclear weapons, okay? So this is what it's going to mean when it says burning and fuel of fire, right? So we have a crazy future ahead of us, Akim, right? And if you're not right, you're not going to survive the coming events, right? So this is why, again, if you're watching these videos, you got to get right with the Lord, man, because we are living in the last seconds of the last days. So just wanted to cover the story. So until the next time, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Padash, the honors of my teachers, the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.